I'm out here on the deck on this beautiful morning and just want to share this practice with you. This practice uses some longer holds to help build strength and stability. We'll also be doing some moving and stretching, so welcome. Let's start by just finding a nice comfortable seated position. I'm sitting cross-legged. You can also sit on a block or a bolster or a blanket if you have that available. You might also want to have just a couple of blocks in case you need a little assistance in some of the poses. So just sit well and close your eyes. You can rest your hands either on your knees with the palms up or down, or just rest them in your lap, whatever feels good. Start to lengthen your spine. Maybe tuck the chin slightly. Top of the head reaches up towards the sky. As you start to inhale and exhale through the nose, start to count with your breath. So maybe your count is 4 or 5 or maybe even 6. See if you can make the inhale and the exhale even out. The breath is smooth and even. You notice the movement of the body as you inhale, the expansion that happens with the belly, the rib cage, maybe even collarbone lifts just a little. And then on the exhale, you feel everything move towards the center, move towards the spine. Just taking a few more breaths here just to center our body and our mind to prepare ourselves for our practice today. And slowly let your eyes flutter open. And we'll do a few little seated warm-ups just to begin with. So let's bring our arms out beside us with the fingertips on our mat. Sitting up nice and tall here. Maybe let the shoulders ease away from the ears. And then we're just going to inhale, reach the arms up. If you're going to look up towards your hands, you can. And then we'll just exhale back down. Just some nice, easy movements. Connecting breath. Inhaling as we come up. Exhaling as we come down. And again, you can let your gaze come up as your arms come up. Just warming up the shoulders first. One more time as you reach up and then back down. And then we're going to reach the right arm up and lean towards the left, but keep this right shoulder open. And then exhale, switch. Inhaling up and over, exhaling down. One side and then the other. Nice gentle movements to help warm up the body, awaken the muscles and the joints. Just finding that smooth breath that we practiced. This will be the last one on this side. And then we'll inhale the arms up again, but this time turning to the right. Just a slight little turn, a slight little twist. And then inhale back to center. Exhale to the other side. And then just continue to move with the breath. This time, inhale, reach the arms up, release the arms, and then we're going to hold on to either ankles or knees And do a few little seated cat-cow. So moving our spine in the other direction. So as we inhale, we lift the chest, bring the shoulder blades together, press the chest forward. Exhale, round down, look at your belly button. Inhale, lift the chest. Exhale, round. You just do that a few more times. Warming up the spine, the hips, the shoulders. And then coming back to center, we're just going to do some shoulder rolls to the back. So inhale as you come up, exhale down and around, and then to the other direction. So coming forward, inhale up, and come forward. And then just settle the shoulders down away from the ears. And then we're just going to bring the chin down to the chest. Feel a nice stretch. So you can feel that stretch, of course, in your neck, maybe up into the very top part where it connects to your head, and even down at the top part of the shoulders, just by letting the chin come to the chest. And then we're going to slowly move the chin over to the right, and like you're looking down at your right arm. And then exhale back to center. Inhale, go to the other side. Feeling a nice little stretch, side stretch here. And then we're going to continue that movement. If you want to reach your arms out to the sides, that's fine. You'll get a little bit more stretch here down closer to the shoulders. So exhaling to the center, looking over one side, back to center, and then to the other side. It's like a little pendulum. So you might find a little place maybe that feels tighter. If you need to stay there for just a couple of breaths, please feel free to do so. If you need to work out a few kinks in the neck and shoulders. The next time your chin comes to center, we're going to lift the head. And just take a nice big breath in and out of the nose. And then we're just going to roll forward into tabletop pose. So fingers are spread wide here. We've got our shoulders over our wrists and our hips over our knees. And our knees are about hip width apart too. So we're making this nice little tabletop pose with our body. So let's reach the right arm out in front and let the ball of the left foot come to the mat, and then press with the left hand so that you've got a little stretch here in that hamstring. If you're doing this practice in the morning, or if you've been sitting all day, hamstrings probably are tight. So we need to gently start to wake up the hamstring. Release that. And then see if you can lift the left leg up more parallel to your mat. And then on the exhale, we're going to bring the elbow and the knee towards each other. And then inhale, reach in opposite directions. Left foot is flexed. Exhaling in. Inhale, reach out. Your gaze is down towards your mat. Last time, big stretch here. And then see if you can reach around and grab the top of your left foot and then press that foot into your hand. So now you're getting just a little bit more stretch in the right shoulder, the left thigh. Also a balance challenge. Really good to work the core here. And then reach out in opposite directions again. And let your right hand and your left knee come to the mat. Let's make some circles with our hips here. Kind of get the shoulders involved a little, loosening everything up. Let me go the other way. And then coming back into our tabletop pose, we're going to reach the left arm out, right leg goes out just to the ball of your right foot. Press with your right hand so that you have a nice little stretch here. Just take a couple of breaths. And then release the stretch. Reach your right leg out, more parallel to the floor. Exhale, elbow towards the knee. They don't have to touch. Inhale, reach. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. One more time. And then bending the right knee, reach around, grab the top of your right foot with your left hand, and then press your hand into, push your foot into your hand. You feel that stretch in the left shoulder, a little bit more on the right hip and thigh. Calm the breath. And reach out in opposite directions one more time. And then release your left hand and right knee. Let's make those circles again just to help relieve any tension that's in the hips and the low back. So just kind of an organic movement here. Go the other way. Back to center. So placing the palms energetically on the mat. We're going to curl the toes under and come into our very first downward facing dog. So you might want to keep a little bend in the knees or a lot. So feet are about hip distance apart. Looking up, hands are about shoulder width or a little more. And maybe you want to walk your dog to begin with. So maybe just bending one knee and then the other, just slightly. We want to warm up the hamstrings just by a little gentle stretch and movement. And then coming back into your downward dog, feel that energy come all the way up your arms, across the shoulders, down the spine. Hips are open. Thighs are rotated inward. You feel your hamstrings start to ease a bit. Just take one more breath here. And then slowly let your knees come nice and wide, all the way down to the mat. Big toes together. And then press your hips back towards your heels. Let your forehead rest either on the mat, or you can stack your hands, or you can use a block. Making sure there's a little pressure here on the forehead right at the third eye. We'll just take a few breaths here. It's a great resting pose, but also really good to lengthen the spine and help open up the hips in a very gentle way. So just notice your breath as you're in child's pose. There's a little bit more compression in the front body. And so our ribs actually expand and contract front and back, but we always just think about the front part. This is a really good one to bring more awareness to your breath in the back body. So as you inhale and exhale, just notice how it expands from the sides and the back of the body. Take one more breath here, reach the hands forward, and then lift the hips. You can bring your knees in, and we're going to come to seated. So we're going to start in staff pose. So legs are out straight. You can move your hips a little to get any flesh out of the way. If you'd like, you can sit up on a blanket, just on the edge of a blanket. And then we're going to flex our feet, bring those little toes in. Press the balls of our big toe away from us, and press the thighs down. So you can also use your hands beside you to help you sit up nice and tall here. shoulders are relaxed away from the ears. Back of the neck is lengthened. Pressing the heels and the thighs down. Feeling a lot of energy, even though it looks like we're just sitting. We've got a lot of energetic energy moving through the body as we press down and feel grounded. So we're going to move into a couple of poses now. We're going to start with half cow face pose. So we're going to take the right leg and we're just going to bring it across the left leg. So I've got my right knee pretty much over my left knee, but if yours doesn't make it that far, that's fine. So we're really working on opening up the right side of the hips here, but you also get a nice hamstring stretch on the left side. If you need to put something under your knee, you can. So coming into cow face pose, we're going to sit with this for just a few breaths. So notice the chin is tucked slightly just to lengthen the back of the neck. And then if you have space and you would like, maybe start to walk your hands forward. You can also use blocks here. So maybe just a little bit of a forward fold is enough for you. Maybe you need to come down further. So just pick wherever you need to be today. See if you can breathe into any tight spots that you find. So maybe that tight spot is along the left hamstring, maybe it's the right hip, or maybe it's some other part in your body that needs a little extra attention. So we bring our attention to those tight spots and give them permission to release a bit. If you're folded forward, go ahead and walk your hands back a bit. And we're going to loosen this right leg a little, but we're going to keep the right ankle crossed over. And then bringing our hands behind us, we're going to bend the left knee. So now we have a really nice little, it's really a great stretch for the right side of the hips and thigh. So trying to keep a nice long spine. You might need your hands a little further away. You might need your left foot a little further away. So just decide where you need to be so that you can find a nice tall spine. Keep that right foot flexed as you dynamically press the right knee away. Again, we're just going to find that calm breath, keeping the shoulders away from the ears. Maybe you find your count that you found in the very beginning of practice, and just a calm breath. So keeping this shape, we're going to gently bring ourselves all the way down, laying down on our mats. Right ankle still crossed over the left leg. And then if you've got space, maybe you grab the back of your left thigh. So my right hand is in that little upside down 4 shape between my legs. Just clasping here. You might have enough space to grab the front of your shin on your left leg, but it's not necessary. So we're really focusing on this right hip here. So it just depends on how much motion, how much space you have in your hips as to whether you grab your shin or your thigh. And then we're just going to stay here for a few breaths, keeping the right foot flexed. Breathing some ease into that right hip. after your next exhale, keep this shape in the lower body, but go ahead and release the left leg to the floor. And we're going to bring our arms out to the side just to anchor our upper body. And we're going to take this shape of the lower body and we're just going to move everything over to the left. So you might need a block under your left knee, but maybe you can bring everything all the way down to the mat. So a nice little twist here. You can even look over your right fingertips. On that breath, feel grounded in the upper body. So your right hip will be off of the mat. Just a nice little gentle twist. Then slowly come back to center, the head and with both legs. Uncross the legs. And so make sure that your feet are in line with your hip bones here. We're going to do a little dynamic bridge before we go to the other side. So start with the hands down at your sides, palms down. As we inhale, we're going to press with our feet, the back of our head and our shoulders. Inhale, reach the arms overhead as you lift the hips up. Keeping the knees in line with the hips, and then exhale, lower. Inhale, lift the hips as you reach the arms overhead. Exhale, lower. Just do this a few times with your breath. Next time you inhale, lifting the hips, arms overhead, we're just going to press the feet into the mat. Again, pressing the shoulders and the back of the head into the mat, and we're going to stay here just for a few breaths. So make sure that your knees are just a few inches apart. That length in the front body as we're opening. Slowly exhale all the way down. Let your arms come down, hips come down. Bring your knees into your chest here. Give yourself a nice little hug. Maybe make some circles with your hips or with your knees. And then go the other direction. And then you can just roll through whichever side feels good. We're going to come back to seated and come back into staff pose so we can do the other side. So establishing our staff pose, nice tall spine, energetic legs, feet are involved in this pose. Find your breath. And then when you're ready, we're going to cross the left leg over the right. Again, if it doesn't make it all the way over there, that's okay. Listen to your body. Lift your hips up, maybe sit on a blanket if you need to, just to lift the hips up a little bit. But we're going to keep this half cow face pose. Right toes are still engaged, so our right thigh is pressing down, our right toes are pointed up. And just find your breath here. And again, if you have space and you want to start to walk your hands forward a little or a lot, listening to your body. slowly start to walk your hands towards you again. Hands come behind you. We're going to slide the left leg over to the left so that we've got more, just above the ankle really is on the right thigh. And then bending the right knee. So again, make that adjustment with your right foot or with your hands so that you can feel a nice stretch in the left hip. You should be able to feel this. Left foot is flexed, spine is long. Breath is even. After your next exhale, we're going to slowly move our torso all the way down to the mat. Keeping the shape of the lower body like it is. Left foot is still flexed. And this time reaching through, either holding onto the right thigh or the right shin. A little deeper stretch for the left hip. So you should be able to comfortably lay on the mat. Shouldn't be any kind of strain going on. If it is, you need to ease off of the pose just a little bit. Just taking our time in these poses to let our body open in a more natural way. Your next exhale, release your right foot to the floor. We're going to reach our arms out long again. This time just grounding our upper body. And then keeping the shape of our lower body, we're going to move everything to the right. So maybe your left foot comes to the floor, or maybe you need to put a prop underneath, either a bolster or a block. So that we're in a nice little twist, and then you can turn your head to the left if you like. It just gives a little additional twist to the upper spine and the neck. And just a couple more breaths. Nice easy twist. And then slowly bring your knees back to center. You can release your arms beside you and uncross your left leg. So we're going to do our dynamic bridge pose again. So walking the feet in so that they're close to your hips, right in line with your hips, the knees, ankles, the hips, all in alignment. Just a couple of inches between your knees, and we're going to keep that even when we do our bridge, so we don't want our knees to flail out or touch in. So pretend like you've got a block maybe between your knees. Just imagine that. So when you're ready, start to inhale, reach the arms overhead as you lift the hips. Exhale and lower. Move with your breath. Inhaling and exhaling. Next time you inhale, we're going to hold it just for a few breaths. Pressing the feet into the mat. Lift those hips. Reach those fingertips over your head. You're trying to grab something really up high. Take some nice deep breaths here. Exhale, lower the hips and the arms all the way down. yourself a little hug here, making circles with the knees. You might want to just sway back and forth. So just find whatever organic movement feels good to you. And then turning to one side, just press yourself back to seated. So we're just going to sit in a nice cross-legged position again. Just take a few breaths, just to do a little mental assessment and physical assessment of how your body feels and how your mind feels. Just what is going on inside. And go ahead and let your eyes flutter open. And we're going to come to the front of our mat in mountain pose. So our first standing pose, lifting the toes, feeling that energy come all the way up the front of the body. Shoulders relaxed away from the ears. Chin is slightly tucked just so that there's some length in the neck. And then with some larger movements here, we're going to inhale, reach the arms up, maybe look up at the hands if that feels okay for your neck. And then exhale, fold forward from the hips. Release your head and neck here. Inhale, come halfway up, so hands to the shins, shoulder blades together, shoulders away from the floor. Stay here for a few breaths. So pressing the hips back and the top of the head in the opposite direction. Feeling a lot of energy in this pose. Lengthening the spine. Exhale, fold forward all the way. Let your fingertips touch the mat, even if your knees are bent, perfectly okay. And we're going to take the right foot and bring it around the back of the left foot, and then just fold. So a little bend here will feel good. Get a little bit extra stretch in the right leg, right hamstring, maybe the IT band. And then release your right foot back around. And then take a breath, and then we'll do the other side. So left foot just crosses over behind the right foot. You can feel this IT band on the left leg, maybe a little bit more intense hamstring stretch. One more breath, and then release back. Inhale, come halfway up, bring your shoulder blades together, exhale, fold. Inhale, sweep the arms overhead, and this time bringing the hands through the center of the heart. Come back into mountain pose. So in mountain pose, our gaze is down, or you can close your eyes. We'll just be here for a couple of breaths. When you're ready, inhale, reach the arms up, exhale, fold. Inhale halfway up and fold. Fingertips to the mat. Step your right foot back into a long lunge and let your right knee come down to the mat. So fingertips can be on the mat, or if you need blocks here to help you create a little bit more space. We'll be here just for a few breaths just to let the hips sink down a bit. Make sure that your left knee is over your ankle. Right knee is behind your right hip. Heart is reaching forward. And then placing your palms on the mat, we're going to curl the right toes under, lift the right knee, step the left foot back into a plank pose. So your shoulders are directly over your hips here, directly over your wrist. You can let your knees come down if you have any kind of issues with your low back, or if you haven't built enough strength yet for a full plank, knees up or down. And we're going to exhale, let the elbows stay close to the body, nice and slow and controlled as we come all the way down. Lift the chest up forward into a cobra. Pull your hands back as you let your shoulders come away from your ears. Lift the heart. Exhale, release the chest down. Press into the mat as you curl the toes and come back into a downward dog. Just take a few breaths here. Press the mat away with your hands dynamically. Feel the length in your spine. Feel the opening in the hips. And then looking forward, this time we're going to take the right foot forward. The knee should be right over the ankle. If it needs a little help, then just pull that right foot forward a little more. Bring the left knee down. Fingertips to the mat or blocks. Lift your heart. Shoulders relax away from the ears. Hips sink down. Go ahead and curl the toes of the left foot. Lift your left knee. Press forward, coming into a forward fold again. Release your head and neck. Inhale, come halfway up. Shoulders come away from the floor as the spine lengthens. Exhale, fold. Inhale, sweep the arms overhead, hinging at the hips, through heart center, back into your mountain pose. Beautiful sun salutation. So we're lengthening our spine here by just slightly bringing the tailbone down, lifting up through the chest, but keeping the rib cage engaged in the core of the body. Shoulders, maybe do a few little shoulder rolls just to relax them away from your ears again. Then we're going to step the feet a little wider. So I've got mine with my toes just barely off the edges of the mat. Yours might be a little different depending on your hips. We're going to do a yoga squat, and really garland pose is what it's called. So bring your hands to your heart. We're going to bend our knees. They should be in about the direction of our toes. We're going to bring our hips all the way down. Elbows can be on the outside of the knees to help open. Tailbone comes straight down. Some people may need to sit on a block for this pose. Perfectly okay. I'm going to be here for a few breaths. Beautiful garland pose. It's great for the hips, really good for the back. So just using your elbows as a little leverage here. And then bring your fingertips in front of you, and we're going to lift the hips straight up and fold forward. And then we're going to bring the hips back down and come back into garland pose. Let's do that a couple of times. Fingertips to the mat, lift your hips, drop your head. Come back into garland. One more time. Again, using a block to sit on if you need to, at whatever height feels good. Last one. Bring your fingertips to the mat, lift your hips. So then just heel toe your feet back directly under your hips so that they're parallel to each other. Inhale halfway up, exhale fold, inhale, sweep the arms overhead. And this time we're gonna sit back into chair pose. So we're gonna make sure that you can see your toes as we let the hips come down. Arms can be overhead or out in front. Nice little chair pose here. And then for a little challenge, if you want, you can come to the ball of one foot and then the other. You can switch. And then maybe try both at the same time for balanced chair. And then exhale, let the heels and the fingertips come all the way down. Inhale halfway. hold. Bending the knees, sweep the arms overhead. This time, palms together. You can clasp your fingers and let your index finger be pointing up towards the sky. Reaching the arms up so that your arms may even be touching your ears. So a lot of energy in this pose. Bring your rib cage in. Feel your core work. Lift your toes. Feel your legs work. Let your toes come down, but keep that energy. Reaching up through the index fingers. Big inhale here. Exhale to the right. Inhale halfway. All the way back up. Exhale to the left. Back up. Do it one more time. Keep all that energy going on with your legs, with your core, and with your arms. Beautiful. Release your hands. Let your arms float back down, back into your mountain pose. Keep your mountain pose strong and grounded, lifting up through the crown of the head. And then lifting your gaze, we're just going to shake it out a little bit. Shake the hands and the arms. Let your hips just go from side to side. And then with your feet a little wider than your hips, now just place your hands on your hips, and we're just going to make some nice little circles here. Should feel really good for your hips. And go the other way. And then coming back to center. So we're going to do a little balance pose since we're outside today. Let's do tree pose. So for some of you, if you're near a wall, it's perfectly okay. I'm also going to demo it with a block here as well. So we're going to place the block just between our feet to begin with. And we're going to start with our placing the weight on our left foot. So you can use a block and just place your right toes on the block and your right heel just on your right calf. That's perfectly okay. It just gives you a little bit more steadiness. So make that left leg really strong, like press down. We don't want to sink into the hip. So lift up out of that left hip. And you can bring your hands to your heart. You can also bring your right foot directly on your right calf, or you can bring it to your right thigh. Your left calf or your left thigh. But it's still a balanced pose. So I just want to demo this pose with a little variation here. So just make sure that the left leg is nice and strong here. If you want to reach your fingertips up towards the sky, grow your leaves. Come back to heart center. And release. And maybe just walk it out a little bit. Your left hip and your left ankle has been doing a lot of work here. So I'm going to keep the block and use that variation. If you don't feel like you need a block, again, you can bring your left foot to your right calf or all the way up to your thigh, just avoiding the knee area. So find your mountain pose. So I'm doing it with a block. Standing up tall, feeling grounded. We're doing tree pose, so we want to pretend like our roots are growing into the ground, holding on. This time shifting the weight to the right side. Decide where your left foot needs to be. The knee is going to be open up to the side a bit, whichever version you decide to do. And then bringing our hands to our heart. Finding a gaze, some place to rest our eyes. It's called a drishti. Helps with balance. Make that right leg strong, pressing out of the hip. Lengthen. If you want to grow your branches, you're welcome to do that. hands back to the heart. And release out of the pose. So again, just walking it out a little bit, especially for that right hip and right ankle. If you're using a block, you can move that out of the way, but you know, keep it handy at the front of your mat just as you get into any pose. If you feel like you need a little, if you need to move the floor a little closer to you, the block is a great prop for that. So let's come back into mountain pose. Standing tall, finding that energy. Inhale, sweep the arms overhead. Exhale, fold forward. We're going to step the left foot back into a long lunge here. And then we're going to bring both hands on the inside of the right foot. You can heel toe the right foot over to the side. So you can keep your left leg straight, or you can come to your left knee if you want. We're going to come into lizard pose. This is also a good one for a block. So you can stay right here. Notice that my right knee is over my ankle, but both hands are on the inside. So my hip is a little bit more open. I'm going to use a block here just so that you can see. So after you feel like your right hip is open a bit, you can start to bend your elbows. Maybe you can come all the way to the floor, but if not, maybe you want to come to a block. See if you can keep that right knee pulled in towards your right shoulder. Spine is nice and lengthened here. You should have a nice even breath. And then if your elbows are bent, or if you're all the way on a block or the floor, go ahead and straighten your arms again. And then we're going to frame our right foot and kind of heel toe that right ankle back under your knee in line with your hips. And then pressing your palms into the mat, we're going to curl the left toes under and lift the left knee, and then press back into downward dog. Lengthen. Shift your weight forward, step or walk to the front of your mat, and inhale halfway. Exhale, fold. This time, right leg goes back. You can keep your knee up or down. Walk both hands on the inside of the left foot as you heel to the left foot out just a few inches here. You can keep the arms straight. You can keep the right leg straight, or you can bend one or both. If you want to use a block, just play with whichever side works. And then keep that left knee close to the left shoulder. Spine is long. Hips are sinking down, opening up the right hip flexor and the back of the left hip. Your hips will thank you for this. So if your elbows are bent or if you're on a block, we're going to start to straighten that arms. Heel toe that left foot back in line with the hips. Bending the right knee, step forward into our forward fold. Inhale, come halfway up, lengthen the spine. Exhale, fold forward. Release your head and neck. Maybe sway just a little bit from side to side with your head and with your hips. Center. Let's just bring one knee down and then the other as we come into wide-legged child's pose. Big toes touch, forehead comes to the mat. Notice your breath here. So if your forehead doesn't come all the way to the mat easily, use a block. use your hands. See if you can press your hips back a little closer to your heels. And make sure your knees are wide so there's plenty of room to lengthen your spine here. Calming down the breath and also using this pose as a little rest. So reach the fingertips forward and lift the hips. We're going to come all the way down to the mat. You can bring a block with you if you'd like. So we're going to do a little bit of a easy inversion here. We're going to come all the way down. So if you don't have a block, you can always just place your hands under your hips as you lift your legs up. If you have a block, put your feet on the floor and lift your hips so that you're on the flat side of the block and it matches that big flat bone at your low back. And then you're just going to raise your legs up. So again, with or without a block, you can rest your hands on your belly beside you. Or overhead is just a little bit more intense, just slightly. But we want our feet to be relaxed here. Our face is relaxed. Great, easy inversion, help with circulation. You can also do this if you have a wall in your house. Your hips close to the wall, legs up the wall. Closing your eyes here and just let gravity help your circulation. Just 2 more breaths. Your arms are overhead, go ahead and release those down. If you've got a block, you can lift your hips, remove the block. We'll all meet with our backs flat on our mat. Bring your knees into your chest. Maybe even bring your head up, to curl up, making that little ball. And then place your feet on the mat. We're going to bring the arms out to the side, and we're just going to let the knees come to the left. You can look over the right arm if you'd like. If this doesn't feel good, you can always place a block under your left knee. We'll just be here for a few breaths. Twists are just so good for our spine, but also digestion and organs. After your next exhale, come back to center with the knees and the head. Just take a breath here and kind of reestablish the center here if you need to adjust your hips a bit or your feet. Take a nice big inhale, and then as you exhale, let the knees just slowly float to the right. Again, using a block under your right knee if you need to, and then maybe turning your head to the left. Notice the quality of your breath here. Be calm and even. After your next exhale, coming back to center, maybe your head and your knees. Maybe give yourself another nice little hug here. If you want to round into a ball, you're welcome to do that. If it feels good to sway or make circles with your knees, to ease the back a bit. And then take a nice big stretch. So stretching overhead, stretch the legs out long, stretch the fingers and the toes, maybe even make circles with the wrists and the ankles, going one way and then the other. And then we're going to find Shavasana. So traditionally, Shavasana, you're flat on your back with the palms forward, arms beside you, and your feet are going to be wider than your hips. Just relax. Your chin is slightly tucked. But for some people, this is not a great pose for their low back or some other part of their body. So it's a good one. If you've got pillows, you can place them under your knees. Or if you don't and your low back is pinching, maybe just bend your knees, bring your feet out wide and let your knees just touch so that there's no energy required for this pose. So this is Shavasana, which is corpse pose. We want to relax everything that we possibly can. We don't want to have our mind going to pinching of a low back or anything that's uncomfortable. So use any props that you need for Shavasana. So as you ease into your Shavasana pose, we're going to please close your eyes. Tuck the chin just slightly to lengthen the back of the neck. Rest your mind on your breath here. So the breath is slow and even and natural. No need to count, no need to change the breath. It is perfect just the way it is, whatever that is in your body. Please feel free to stay in Shavasana for however long you have in your day. 5 to 10 minutes is excellent. If you wish, you can turn to your favorite side with your knees bent and join me in a seated posture. And then bringing your hands to your heart, being grateful for our practice together. Thank you for joining me. Namaste.